Part 112. After my death, the villain blackened again. Author, Ben Gongwei Pang. Chapter 1124. The ground was covered with a layer of white silk cloth when Gaixian turned over on the ground. She was lying on the silk cloth, the person was whiter than the cloth, it was like the best scenery on silk cloth. He wanted it urgently, but at this moment he was watching her lying there. Everyone was unkempt, and everybody was not flattering. Those hasty attacks turned into lingering kisses, demons, monsters. This little fairy. Impatiens on this island in the lake have aphrodisiac effects, so whether the demon on this island or the great demon in the lake is affected by impatiens, it has its own aphrodisiac effect. The magical method of Yanj is a double cultivation method. She came to this island to absorb the essence of impatiens. When she and Giwen Shangxian Shuangziu, those impatiens swayed towards her position. After her exercise, all the essences of impatiens were floating towards the body of Yanj, lingering the whole body of the words. Giwen Shangxian still has reason. In addition to trying to kill the demon girl this time, he also prevented her from integrating these impatiens. So when he saw Yanj like this, he hurriedly called, "Don't do that. Be good, stay focused." Yan Ji kissed his lips and blocked his next words. Since the host here likes this kind of demon girl, she will carry it forward. Right and left is a role play. Some time ago, Yan Ji used Yang to Yin and Yin for Giwen Shangxian, and cultivation had reached a bottleneck. At this moment, she absorbed so many impatiens, and when Giwen and Shangxian reached the peak, her body entered with trembling advanced status. The toxin in Gaixian Shangxian's body had been removed, and he stared at the speech song that had entered the meditation state with complex eyes. This demon girl, this demon girl. Thinking of the extremely shameful words he had just said, he was ashamed to kill the demon girl. His palm was raised several times, trying to break her heavenly cover to kill this fairyland, but the palm could not be beaten out. She sat next to him cross-legged, not even a little defense, obviously asking him to help her defend the law. Why is she trusting him then? Obviously there was no intersection between him and her, and he would kill her. She is a nymph, and no one believes it. Why did she believe him? Giwen Shangxian's expression was really complicated. But in the end, he didn't do anything to kill her. He was staring at her with indignation. Gradually, however, I didn't know what magic she had, which made him attracted, and just stared at her. Her face was deserted, her lips were thin and thin, her nose was delicate, and her face was small. A very clean face, pure and naive, without a little charming. No one looks at this face, do not think it is a fairy who can faint the second generation of the immortal world. Face. Su, because her skin was too fair, the whiteness was red, and the powder was tender, and he really felt itching to touch his fingers. But her fingers stopped just an inch from her cheek. This is a demon girl, this is a demon girl. He kept telling himself that he was going to kill her and kill her to clear up the scourge for Xiaoxianja. Even if there are countless voices roaring in my mind. But he has always been motionless. A pair of eyes stared at her stupidly. Probably advanced too hastily, she only wore a sheer white gauze skirt. He could even see the bruises on her white greasy place through this veil. After my death, the villain blackened again. Author, Ben Gongwei Pang. Chapter 1125. These bluish purple are all left on Giwen Shangxian. Her skin was really tender, with a touch of red and purple marks. It seems that there is still a breath of excitement after the two of them are happy. Thinking of the previous encounter between the two, Giwen Shangxian only felt that a stream of heat poured into the lower abdomen and numbed his body. The advancement of Yanj did not go well, she sucked all the essence of impatiens officinalis, and the big demon on the island and the big demon in the lake were roaring in anger. However, their madness seemed to be in estrus with the smell of Yanj. Giwen Shangxian didn't take a long time to begin his due diligence to protect the law song, driving out these big monsters who want to get close to the word song crazy. The big monsters in this mixed UN secret realm are already powerful, and now these big monsters are still crazy. Gaixiangxiangxiu is no matter how high, but also fists are difficult to defeat for hands. Against so many mad monsters, he didn't know why he fled without taking the road, but desperately wanted to protect her. If Yan Ji knew about Giwen Shangxian's doubt, he would definitely make a rude comment. Giwen Shangxian spelled most of his cultivation, and there was still no complete Song of the Guardian. When the advanced song was advanced, it happened to be attacked by a big demon. Even if Giwen Shangxian blocked it in time, the big demon's claws were caught a piece of meat on Yan's shoulder. The song at the critical moment was spit out of blood because of this claw, and the opened eyes were even blood red. In this situation, there is clearly a sign of going into magic. Giwen Shangxian's heart was not good, he hugged Yan's body and rushed towards the island. The man in his arms snorted, and suddenly started grabbing his clothes. His body was still attached to him, and he kept twirling, apparently trying to do that kind of thing with him. This demon girl. On the run, I didn't even see when it was that day, prostitution. Giwen Shangxian grinds his teeth. He is in this situation, but he has a wolf and a tiger. He just managed to dodge the big monsters that came after him, and couldn't stop her at all. When he finally escaped from the island lake and found a safe place, he looked down and realized that the white suit he had just put on had been torn by the woman in his arms. The woman's octopus was chopped on him, and she was rubbing around, finding her third leg. This demon girl, this demon girl. The whole body was bleeding, and even his right arm was severed and broken by the demon. Giwen Shangxian was just dissatisfied with the demon's indulgence and indifference, and could not interrupt her. He stunned to find a safe place, sacrificed his own fairy to hide the two people. He couldn't push the demon girl, and he didn't plan to push it away. Instead, he still used his little remaining power in the demon girl's examined in the body. It was relieved that she had not been enchanted, even though she was in danger of going into magic, only she was thinking about it now to relieve the rampant energy in her body. Therefore, although she feels that the prostitute's prostitution in the day is shameless and nasty, but Giwen Shangxian did not reject her in a mentality of saving people's lives to win the 7th level floating slaughter. However, he didn't expect that the demon girl had to go in. When he double cultivated, he even secretly learned from him when he was fooling with joy. This demon girl. Her heart was angry, but she didn't interrupt her or resist. She was interrupted when she was advanced, and Jiu was indeterminate to some extent. She was so infamous. Without Jiu, she was killed because she got out of the secret world of Hunyuan. To save people to the end, he fixed her up. You are listening to novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. After my death, the villain blackened again. Author, Ben Gong Wei Pang. Chapter 1126. Yan Ji did not know that Giwen Shangxian had so many twists and turns in his heart. She had a problem at the advanced level, and she almost broke her veins. Even if she turned her heart in time to suppress the violent gas in her body, but the internal injuries were serious, she could feel that she was not even as good as 1/10 of the former. There is such a thigh as Giwen Shangxian, she can't hold his thigh, of course, she must open his leg to replenish her vitality. However, this guy was also seriously injured today. Dantian was empty. She sucked hard for a while and didn't much. She had to bite his neck in an indignation, exhausted, and fell asleep. Wake up again, already outside the mysterious realm of mixed UN. Yanj dangled, as if lying on something and being carried away. This glance. I realized that I was lying in a large saucepan, and Giwen Shangxian, who had broken one arm and pinched one leg, was dragging the pan handle forward. This pot is really a must-have for home travel. Giwen Shangxian was bloody, broken arm and stomped her leg. Even if she turned her back to Yanj, her back looked very embarrassed. As soon as Yan Ji moved, she snorted with a pain in her bones and bones. She had just stunned Giwen Shangxian Lang, and hadn't noticed herself. The whole body hurt, and she realized that she was in a very bad health at the moment. Dan Tian was left empty, and the repair had almost disappeared. However, the state of the art is out of order, and it is already a gratitude to be able to destroy Danshan without meridians and become a waste. With a hum of words, Giwen Shangxian turned his head to look at the words, "Be patient, wait for a place to help you heal." Words of song, this guy's words are quite full, but now Wolverine can't even have the sword, and his broken arm hasn't grown out. It can be seen that he was seriously injured. The mixed realm has been closed. Yanj failed to advance and was unable to restrain the breath of her body due to her advanced coma. She absorbed so much of the essence of impatience, and she was a walking pill in the eyes of those big demon in secret. Giwen Shangxian took her away from the mystery all the way, and he almost did not lose his life. Giwen Shangxian didn't have much energy to go too far. When he passed a small village, it happened to be raining. The exhausted Giwen Shangxian pulled the words and fell to the front of a small yard. The branches of the yard were used as a fence. In ordinary times, like Giwen Shangxian, let alone the fence of the yard. That thatched house in the yard, he can fall with a finger. But now, he has no strength to knock on the door. He is thinking about whether to overturn the cauldron with the words of song to avoid the rain. The host in this hut seems to have heard the sound and opened the door to the wood. The gate of the gate was staring uncertainly at Giwen Shangxian and Yanj outside the gate. Seeing that Gixian Shangxian didn't speak, the song knew that this guy had been staying in Xianling for too long alone, and he was afraid that he would not know how to greet mortals. She lifted her head up and smiled gently at the woman who looked at her. "My husband and wife were robbed by thieves on the way to their relatives, and now it's raining heavily. I am fine, but my body is weak, but my man, he was wounded, and he might get worse if he was exposed to the rain. Could you please find a place for us to avoid the rain, no matter what the place, as long as we can avoid the rain?" After listening to Yanj's words, the woman was relieved, and together with Giwen Shangxian, she pulled the big pot carrying Yanj into the courtyard. After my death, the villain blackened again. Author, Ben Gong Wei Pang. Chapter 1127. Because the yard is small, there are only 2 thatched houses, one for cooking and the other for living. The woman brought Yanj and Giwen Shangxian to the kitchen, and asked Yanj and Giwen Shangxian whether they were hungry or not. She took 2 black nests from the big iron wok in the kitchen. This nest is probably her family's dry food, obviously hesitant to take it. Yan Ji thanked her very much. She and Giwen Shangxian didn't eat these ordinary and non-aura things, and the 2 of them were not hungry, so the woman went to work. When the woman was gone, Yan Ji beckoned to Giwen Shangxian, "Come here." Giwen Shangxian looked at Shang Yanj with a smile that was non-smiling, with a subconscious shrinkage, watching the song with vigilance. His voice was cold, and he held back and asked, "How?" Yanj laughed, "Father, come here." Giwen Shangxian frowned slightly, hesitating for a moment, but finally walked towards Yanj. "What is it?" The little thatched cottage was not soundproof. They spoke, and the woman next door could certainly hear it clearly. She had previously been described as a husband and wife. At this moment, she called his husband. Although she knew she was taking advantage of him, she was teasing him, but he was not easy to refute. She stood coldly in front of her. Yanj looked at him. "I can't stand up, you squat." Both of them were very downcast. What was the situation of Yanj's body? Giwen Shangxian knew it well, and naturally he did not worry that she would attack him. Now I saw her smiling so kindly, thinking that nothing was diligent or trespassing. He also thought that this demon girl could do such things with him when he was at war with those big demon. Maybe now he is trying to continue to compliment his idea. And the woman next door, she was so shameless. Sure enough, she is a demon. Although Giwen Shangxian crouched down, she thought, if this demon girl dared to talk to him at this time, he would definitely slap her on the head and shoot her dead. Yanj struggled to sit up, and tore her head off with a tear. Giwen Shangxian saw her pupils shrink in her eyes. Can't you wait for this demon girl? That's too bad. Yan Ji reached out his hand and grabbed Giwen Shangxian's clothes, bringing Gai He Shangxian, who was very complex, closer. Kiun, is this man fighting too much with those big monsters? How do you feel that he is tense all over like a sword that is ready to kill people at any time? Yan Ji was puzzled, but didn't think about it. Instead, he turned his head to look at the wound on his arm. I help you clean the wound first. This rainy weather, don't get infected. Giwen Shangxian originally planned to take a shot at any time. When she heard her, she didn't respond for a moment, and her hand began to deal with the injury on his shoulder at the next moment. Xiuxiang people, broken arms and legs are not a big deal, as long as the aura is abundant, they can grow back. But unfortunately, Giwen Shangxian not only has a lack of aura in his body, but his own danshan may even break up at any time. This time the injury was extremely serious. Therefore, let alone break his arm, it is himself he couldn't open the storage space, let alone change the dirty clothes on his body to clean ones. For the first time in 10,000 years, he was really so embarrassed. Seeing that blood was still leaking from his wound, Yanj found some elixir from his storage space and fed it to Giwen Shangxian mouth. Swallow some elixir first. Her finger had touched his lips, and the slight coolness of her fingers made him want to hit him, but he couldn't bear it. After my death, the villain blackened again. Author, Ben Gong Weipang. Chapter 1128. Giwen Shangxian peeked at her. She was still looking at his wound, and she didn't seem to think it was a matter. This demon girl is too unprotected by men and women. He was dissatisfied, but he opened his mouth to eat the pills in her mouth, but did not want to bite her fingers. She didn't respond, but he blushed. Yan Ji found another elixir from his own space and crushed it on the wound of Giwen Shangxian. He asked him without raising his head, it hurts to come, bear with me, wait for me to help you recover a little bit better. I can do it myself, Giwen Shangxian said. It's just a flesh wound. In fact, Giwen Shangxian knew from the bottom of his heart that this was not only a flesh wound. Most of the big monsters he met were saliva and poisonous. Until now, the danshan meridians in his body could not operate the aura, and those poisonous his body is paralyzed like a mortal, and he doesn't know for himself how long this condition will last. Yan Ji heard his words and looked up, and gave him a glance with a smile. This time, Mr. Chevron can save his life and never give up his body in the middle. Giwen Shangxian opened his mouth, but he couldn't speak. His expression was still cold, but his heart was indignant. The demon girl took advantage of him again. What a husband and a man are, this worldly title is awkward to listen to. It didn't take long for the woman's man to return from outside. The woman was busy burning hot porridge in the kitchen, and the woman's man took a bath in the rain. The woman can feel that the beautiful men and women such as Yanj and Giwen Shangxian are very extraordinary in dress. It is definitely not a countryman. Although she accepted them, she was afraid to talk. Instead, Yanj took the initiative to chat with her. Are there no children in your family? It's okay to ask this question, and the eyes of the woman turned red when asked. I have a son and a daughter. My eldest son is 10 years old, and my youngest daughter is 8 years old. A few days ago, a fairy came to the village to accept an apprentice. Women have a life as a fairy. My family has a difficult livelihood. This year is another drought. The family would eat so little food. I thought that if they could follow the fairy, it would be good to be a fairy in the future. I didn't expect my man to listen to others. It is said that the immortals are fake, and they are deceiving the children to sell them. My man in the nearby village searched for many days and could not find the traces of those immortals. The man and I were thinking of packing today and packing together tomorrow. Always find a child. The woman was crying without saying so. Yanj asked her, how many children in the village followed the fake fairy? The woman reached out and wiped the tears on her face and said, 7 or 8, but there are many children in the other family, and there is only one in the family. Even if it is fake, it doesn't matter. After all, this year's drought will not support so many children. It's not bad to sell them. But my 2 children, I didn't think about selling them. I thought they would be fairy, all the meat falling from me. How could I sell my children? At the end of the conversation, he sobbed and wept again. It happened that the man who had finished washing in the rain came in, and the woman talked about the song and Giwen Shangxian to avoid the rain. Because the couple was going to lose the yard to look for children outside, men didn't care much about it. Yanj simply asked the man, which direction did the fake fairy go? Do you have any news about him? When the man asked Yanji like this, he said, I heard that those people sold their children to Beijing, and it was right for our husband and wife to go to Beijing. You are listening to novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. After my death, the villain blackened again. Author, Ben Gong Weipang. Chapter 1129. How can I find a baby like this? Yan Ji simply asked them about the service of the immortals and what clothes their children wore. Although Yanj and Giwen Shangxian were badly injured, the two were not well dressed. Although there were no slaves in a group, they were not people in the village like them. So the man talked about the fake fairy in detail. After listening to the words, patiently, they said to them, my husband and I are also from Beijing. You are looking for you all the way. You don't know anything about it? If you wait at home, wait for my husband to be better. Let's go back to Beijing and help you find it. For no reason, how can the other person help them find someone? Although the couple suspected that the songs were polite, they immediately knelt down and scratched their heads, thinking that there could be multiple hopes for multiple paths. Between the words of the song. In the evening, the woman and man lived in the kitchen, and Yanj and Giwen Shangxian went to their room to rest. The bed in the room was made of wooden planks. Yanj and Giwen and Shangxian both need to meditate. No one will go to bed, but the couple's affection is difficult, and the two have to occupy the nest. The 2 thatched houses were next to each other, and the words and Giwen Shangxian talked, and the other party could hear them clearly. The 2 were silent, and both closed their eyes and meditated. People who are accustomed to being strong suddenly become so weak, they don't adapt to each other yet. Yanj is much stronger than Giwen Shangxian. She suffered internal injuries when she stepped out, but Ziwei had better keep a little bit. Giwen Shangxian is really not only unable to cultivate, but also an ordinary person. In the middle of the night, I felt that the couple in the next room were asleep, and Yan Ji whispered to Giwen Shangxian, I want to go out and look for those fake immortals. You are here to heal, will you wait for me to return? Not good. Giwen Shangxian refused. This demon girl is so scheming, she might not do anything evil when she goes out. He couldn't kill her now, so he had to watch her all the time. Yan Ji reluctantly said, good, I'm not hurt yet. I can't take the sword with you alone. It's just a tone of coaxing children. Giwen Shangxian stalked her neck, her face flushed in the dark. Yanj continued, there is no time to wait. If those fake immortals have sold their children, they will still have to find somewhere. If I can find them now, at least those children will return intact. In fact, Yanj has experienced many things, knowing that for just a few days, those kidnappers will not have sold their children. Maybe they are still kidnapping and cheating in other places. Diwen Shangxian said in a cold voice, although those are fake immortals, you can hear the description of the woman. These people will come up with ideas when you want to come. Now you have serious internal injuries and can't even walk. Where can you deal with them? You do and you think those people will obediently slaughter you? Yan Ji laughed lowly. The husband-in-law is worried about my tightness. Rest assured, I must all come back at the end. I will be sad without teaching you. Diwen Shangxian's throat froze. Demon girl, you deserve it even if you die outside. The deity does not worry about you. Yanj moved his body in the dark and nestled in his arms. This house is so cold, you hold me. Diwen Shangxian did not hold her, but did not push her away from her arms. After my death, the villain blackened again. Author, Ben Gong Wei Pang. Chapter 1130. Diwen Shangxian, sitting cross-legged, felt a cat-like woman in her arms, her back straight, her body tight. For a long time, remembering what it was like, she took off her outer shirt and reluctantly put it on her. His outer shirt was very dirty. At that time, in the secret realm of mixed Yuan, she only looked at her and did not care about herself. She was very clean, and his white clothes almost turned into blood. The changed clothes were in the space, and he couldn't open the space, so he could only do so. Just make up for it, thinking that I don't know how much of the big demon's blood on the clothes was put on her little cute person. He was awkward. The demon girl in her arms laughed suddenly. Although the soft laughter was low, it felt like a feather twitching his heart, which was really unbearable. He wanted to ask her what to laugh, but he couldn't pull his face to talk, only to rub his lips with his teeth. This demon girl is so brave, and now she is so weak that an ordinary person might be able to knock her down. She even wanted to confront those immortals who didn't know the way. Too crazy. Yan Ji tilted his head and put his face in his chest. Fujun, I can't take you there. Diwen Shangxian, I took you out of the mystery of mixed Yuan. Yanj sighed, but if we go together, what if the couple also left? By the time the child is found but the father and mother are gone, I can't be your father and mother. Diwen Shangxian. He said, you stay here, I'll look for it. At the end, he added, you are an nymph, I don't worry about you. Yanj, I saw it before, you are empty and you can't condense a little aura. You can't be like a royal sword. How can you find someone? When your two legs find it, they ran away early. Diwen Shangxian, I'll find it, I'll run faster. Words of song. Why is this man still scratching his head? In the end, the two had to reach a consensus and go find someone together. After meditating all night, the second day of Yanj simply took out a few pills of elixir from the space in front of the couple. In the surprised eyes of the couple, they said without change, it's true, I and my husband are both the cultivator of immortals. I didn't think it was possible to avoid rain in your home yesterday. When I met you, I wanted to help you find your child. I don't have anything you mortals need. This pill is treatable for you. You're sick, keep it. The two couples were frightened by Yan Ji's ability to fetch things out of thin air. Where would they be skeptical? They knelt down and cried, thanking them. Diwen Shangxian took the elixir given by Yanj yesterday. His trauma was all right, and his arm was not full. He didn't let the Yanj royal sword, and one arm threw the Yanj up into the cauldron, pulled a pot handle and left the village under the invitation of the mortal couple. Sitting in such a pen, Yanj always had the illusion that she was going to be eaten. Once again, it was difficult for Diwen Xianxian to pull her, and she thought of the cows who were pulling the plow. It's too slow to go on like this, Yanj said. I can be a sword, even though I'm injured. I can't do nothing. There is a set of black men's clothing in the storage space of Yanj, which was changed to Diwen Shangxian in the morning. Diwen Shangxian in black clothes not only lost a little bit of immortality, but instead looked like a demonic person, looking full of anger. Hearing the words of the song, he did not look back and said, "Do you have a spirit stone on your body?" This fairy pot throws the spirit stone in and can fly by itself. Potzaxian is also a mouth pot. After my death, the villain blackened again. Author, Ben Gong Wei Pang. Chapter 1131. This man is really, why can't he say it with the Lingxi? Yanj found out some of the spirit stones, rolled his eyes and said, "Earlier killing and setting fire to rob and rob are all evil, most of them are spirit stones." Gui Yuan Shangxian's face sank. He pursed his lips and said nothing. "Go to the pot and sit with Yanj, direct Yanj to place the spirit stone in the dark grid." The pot really flew up. Look, the pot is flying in the sky. This Xiaoxian realm is very mysterious. Yanji is mixed in Xiaoxian realm during this time. The pots flying in the sky can be seen everywhere. I really don't know who the guy who invented this pot artifact was, and how could he have such a wonderful idea. The fake immortals had a mighty mass of more than 10 people, all wearing white clothes. The carriages were extremely gorgeous, and the show was huge. Yanji's eyesight is good, and the pot doesn't fly very high, so it didn't take long to find the target. Because the flying is not high, many mortals have seen their mouth-watering pot and shouted with excitement, "Immortal, immortal." Shouldn't it be shouting why the pot is flying in the sky? These people do not play cards at all. When I found a false immortal, my words were swept away. What is there to cultivate? The person who is called Daxian is clearly a liar who can do a little tricks. She Cao landed in the cauldron when everyone looked up. Where did the bunch of fake immortals see this kind of scene? They immediately became scared, one by one crying father and mother shouting at the fairy. Chi knelt in front of Yanj for reward. Do these guys think that she came here to recognize her distant relatives? Dealing with mortals is too simple. As soon as the song of the song is waved, these people roll in pain. The cold and beautiful voice of the song resounds almost all over the sky. The villagers all kneel and dare not even lift their heads. These scammers lied to the children all the way, and they lied to the gorgeous carriages they pulled. There are too many children and Yanj can't hold it. The most important thing is that these children are not from the same village. So Yanj called these scammers again and drove back together in a carriage, one village at a time, and sent the children back one by one. But what made Yanj and Giwen Shangxian surprised is that when many children were sent back, the parents of the children did not accept the children, only kneeling in front of Yanj and Giwen Shangxian, crying and begging them to take their children. Take away. Yes, these places are suffering from a severe drought today. Many places have cooked children to eat, and they are taken away. Maybe there is still a way to live. If they stay, they may starve to death. When we returned to the previous couple's village, there were more than 50 children in total, and now there are more than 40. What about these children? Yanj hoped to return to Yuancian Shangxian. Your internal injuries are not good, this place is indisputable, and there is no interference from immortal cultivation, but it is a good place to rest. Why not stay here for a while? Giwen Shangxian didn't know her thoughts. Isn't this demon girl a killer who doesn't blink? How could they help these small and insignificant mortals? He was puzzled, but didn't ask, seeing her discuss, nodding in agreement. The use of Yanj's waste has allowed those false immortals to swindle and harvest materials, and they have built several large houses at the end of the village. In her own storage space, there are many spirits and plants, but there is no rice noodles for mortals to eat and drink, not to mention gold and silver clothing commonly used by mortals. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. After my death, the villain blackened again. Author, Ben Gong Wei Pang. Chapter 1132. But this is not difficult to resolve. Yang Lingyuan arranged these children, and she went to the more prosperous provincial capital by sitting on a pot. I found some rich households who used elixir to change various rice noodles and money. She brought some rice that she ate for the past 2 days in her own pot, and let these rich households finish sending food and clothing to the land. Each of these people used Yang as a fairy in the sky. Wherever they shouldn't, they don't hate to send something to Yang so that they can catch the fairy daughter. Giwen Shangxian didn't expect that he would run away without watching kung fu songs for a while. He waited calmly until the songs returned. Seeing that the pot was full of rice and clothes, his face was even heavier. Where to grab it? This demon girl can definitely do her homework. Yan Ji stared at him in amazement. Why am I a fairy? How can I grab someone? Taking out a few pills of elixir can make a fortune in this mortal place. Giwen Shangxian still had a somber face. Why don't you take me? Yanj, I can rest assured that you stay at home and go with me. What if those guys take the children away? Stay at home? Listening to this remark is really intimate and ambiguous. Giwen Shangxian pursed her lips, but her face turned red. There are more than 30 children, men and women are separated, and there are more girls. Therefore, the boys sleep in one room, the girls occupy 3 rooms, and Yanj and Giwen Shangxian occupy one. As for those scammers, just make it on the carriage. Although there are no bedding, it is fortunate that for these children, it is good for them to have enough food and have a shelter from the wind and rain. The children of the poor headed home early. Although these children were far away from their parents, none of them cried. And one after another, eager to work, for fear that the fairy does not want it, but let Yanj and Giwen Shangxian worry about it. Giwen Shangxian's internal injuries are no different from mortals. In fact, he doesn't use meditation. But he got used to it, and repeatedly begged to get out of bed, but still sat cross-legged. Yan Ji moved his body and nestled in his arms. Tomorrow give these children a new name and teach them how to learn calligraphy. They are all 3 or 5-year-old children. The oldest are only 11 or 2. Yanj and Giwen Shangxian looked at them today. Among these children, there are only 2 people with spiritual roots, and they are still ordinary for spiritual roots. Mortal life for decades is really small, such as Yanj and Giwen Shangxian exist, have been closed for 100 years. It's not a matter of 100 years or so. Since they met, of course, they have to stay here to help. Giwen Shangxian felt that it was necessary to help him, but this demon girl had everything in front, making him really uncomfortable. Giwen Shangxian didn't speak. Yanj continued, these children's names are not very good. Tomorrow we will give them names separately. It's okay for the boy, me for the girl. See if it's you. It's better to take it, I am the better to take it. Giwen Shangxian Ben has been closing her eyes to listen to her words. Listening to her yawn, Su was dozing off. He reached out and wrapped her waist around her, so that she could nest in his arms better. Although she was full of questions about how she would rescue mortals, he didn't ask. He asked himself to be different from this demon girl, and after his internal injuries recovered, if she dared to do something bad, he would kill her. Yanj nestled around and became restless. He touched Giwen Shangxian's clothes with his hands and spit fire everywhere. After my death, the villain blackened again. Author, Ben Gong Weipang. Chapter 1133. Giwen Shangxian was still thinking about the demon girl, and now turning around, she has become such a hateful demon girl, how dare to bruise his teeth like this. Yanj lifted her head, and Giwen Shangxian's clothes had been torn off, her chest was bare. Yanj bit his chest accurately, and whispered in his body trembling, Shangxian, do you want? Giwen Shangxian gritted his teeth and squeezed his fingers, but did not speak. Yanj sat up and held him by the neck to overwhelm him. I like to look at Xian, who wants to endure, and it looks really tight. Strange shame. He turned out to be teased by this demon girl. Giwen Shangxian wanted to resist. But her lips had been bullied into the door. The soft tongue has a faint fragrance. All his struggles came back to his heart. He can't beat her now, and when he resumes cultivation, he will definitely kill her. Looking for a gap, Giwen Shangxian said coldly, I don't have aura in my body, you can no longer pick up the yang and fill the yin. So even if she wanted to pick the yang and fill the yin, she wouldn't have any effect. Yan Ji heard the words chuckled, between husband and wife, the thing of the bed quilt is not called Cai yang and yin, but Zhou Gong's ritual. Giwen Shangxian saw Yan Song so brazen, while talking rejoicingly, while still yelling at him, he blushed again. With blushing, my heart was indignant again. He and she are not husband and wife. He is the supreme of the fairyland, so he will not marry a demon girl. Because the wooden house wasn't very soundproof, the two did not lay enchantments. There were dozens of children living next door. Giwen Shangxian and Yanj did not feel at all secure when doing such things. Because of this, Yan Ji took the initiative throughout, but he was the one who was forced to bear it. Su was physically suppressed too much, and his joy this time seemed to be more and more real than before. I just felt that kind of joy was like a long experience, so long that he even had a lifetime, and even made him just want to go on. But there is always an end. The aura of abundant aura rushed into her body from her body at the moment his thoughts rushed into the sky, and she leaned down, chanting the Shuangxiang formula in his ear. Too much joy, he anesthetized himself, and allowed himself to follow this mantra to practice this dual practice. This situation continued until dawn. But to the dismay of Giwen Shangxian, the aura she passed to him stayed in his body for a long time and then dispersed. His Danshan meridians can't even condense, let alone drive. Yanj has been integrated with him from beginning to end. Where can I not find the physical condition of Giwen Shangxian? She kissed his forehead and said, oh, don't worry, wait for it to stabilize. I'll help you find some herbs in this area. This situation should be temporary. Giwen Shangxian stiffened and did not speak. Is it temporary? He also felt it was temporary. He has always been very confident in himself. Even if this confidence seems more blind. At dawn, she was like a housekeeper and started to arrange those children. Those scammers were fed her elixir, and even frightened and intimidated, so that these people took her as a fairy one by one, obey everything, and dare not defy anything. The children ate porridge in the morning, and one by one they got the words of praise and the famous names of Gaixian Shangxian hanging on their necks.